I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we've got a very special event going on, and that is the mass outbreak of EEVEE and the mightiest battle of the game. An entire event focused around EEVEE. And we're going to start off with the mightiest event, Tera Raid, and then go into the special marked outbreaks that are going to be going on. So, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like, subscribe for more, and let's get on with the Fest-EEVEE-ties. This raid is actually going to be quite difficult, and that's because EEVEE doesn't hit very hard. So the only way that a level 7 raid is actually going to be able to win is if it clock stalls. And because of the level 5 Tera Raid EEVEE event they did at the start of the game, actually about a year ago, that thing had Yawn and a Combine on its moveset. So they're likely going to be doing the same thing and just going even further, as well as what we saw from the event Pikachu raids earlier this year with the full HP Tera Shield. They're probably going to be doing that and then more. So this thing is going to be probably the hardest and most unfair Tera Raid they've ever done, because it's just going to be you can't do damage to it, rather than it's going to be knocking you out. It's all clock stall. So, how are we going to beat this thing? Well, Galarian Zapdos, or Gyarados as I like to call it, is, I would say, one of your best options for it. Thunderous Kick always drops physical defense when it's used. It has Defiance, so if EEVEE tries debuffing your stats in any way, shape, or form, it immediately boosts your physical attack, especially if it uses Charm, that just cancels it out. And with Tera fighting, something like close combat is going to do a lot of damage. Another Pokemon that you actually will wind up using as damage support is Flapple, as Flapple's Grav Apple always drops physical defense, much like Thunderous Kick. It's a good budget option, and you should have plenty of spare Applin in case of the Diplin evolution upcoming in the Indigo Disc, which, video on that coming in a few days. However, EEVEE is not likely going to be going into this fight without any items. As we saw from Pikachu and Mewtwo, they've been giving these Chuckleheads items. And that's where Hariyama is going to be the most important thing. There's a reason why Iron Hands is not going to be your best counter. You're going to want Knockoff. If I am correct, this thing is going to be holding the Eviolite. Obviously, it's a fitting thing, but also because EEVEE can't evolve. It's the only thing that can really make EEVEE more bulky, because its stats are very abysmal as is. Eviolite with the massive Tera Shield, this thing's going to be nigh unstoppable. That's where, of course, Knockoff comes in. It's going to remove the Eviolite, taking off the 50% boost on its physical defense, and with Iron Hand's patented Belly Drum, it's still going to do a lot of damage. And now, of course, Iron Hands proper, I don't think it's going to be that good for this thing comparative to some of the other options, and that's purely down to it doesn't get Knockoff. Yes, it has a higher attack stat than Hariyama, but Hariyama gets Knockoff, which means you don't need to rely on, say, John Rando bringing in Hariyama with a Knockoff, or any of the Pokemon that has Knockoff. But it's still going to hit pretty hard even if someone else is capable of bringing that. Hisuian Decidueye is sort of a similar thing to Galarian Zapdos and Hariyama in one, just without the absurd setup, because it does get Knockoff, and it does get Triple Arrows, which is a 50% chance of debuffing physical defense every single time it is used. Now, it does not have a way of counteracting something like Charm, but it does have Triple Arrows, which is a very, very strong move. Very good for support. But now we get into what I would say is the single best option for this raid, and that is Zamazenta. Mudsdale, as it is right below this, and Corviknight fall into the exact same category, as all three do almost the exact same thing, but Zamazenta is the single strongest. And that is Body Press Iron Defense. With its naturally absurd physical defense stat, with Dauntless Shield giving an automatic +1, and with Iron Defense adding on even more to that, plus, of course, Terastallizing into fighting, doing double body press damage, you're going to be doing a huge amount of damage with this thing. Mudsdale is sort of a poor man's Zamazenta, as even though it does have stamina, it doesn't have the sheer defense stat, and it doesn't have the sheer stab. Corviknight is, of course, much the same, in that it doesn't actually even have the best points of either of them, which is the naturally boosting of the physical defense, but what it does have is an immunity to Mudslap, something that will actually take down almost every single other Pokemon that isn't Galarian Zapdos. Because that is one of the only other ways that EEVEE can actually try to body you, other than Yawn. It's just making it so you can't hit anything. And that is where the Angry Punch Monkey comes in. Drain Punch, Bulk Up, Defiant. There's really nothing that really needs to go into explaining more detail on this thing. Zoroark Hisuian is one that I thought of because looking over Eevee's moves, it doesn't really have a whole lot of options. Now, if it goes for Shadow Ball as a way of dealing with, of course, the Punchy Ghost Monkey, then you're immune to both Ghost and Normal. Though if it has a Dark-type move, such as Bite, which the previous level 5 ones did, then Hisuian Zoroark kind of doesn't do a whole lot. Because I thought of, well, if you give it the Air Balloon, and if it has Shadow Ball, Tera Blast, Hyper Voice, and Mud Slap, it just can't touch Zoroark then. Probably gonna have Bite, but I thought it was funny. And for this one, if you do, you want to go physical set with Swords Dance and just full fighting moves, and knock off to, of course, get rid of the Violite. And now we get to the support silliness, and that is Muck. Alolan Muck specifically, because it does have a knockoff. You're not really going to want to be using special attackers for this because Eevee does get Calm Mind, and as the previous level 5 ones did have Calm Mind, it's an all but guarantee that Eevee is going to be having Calm Mind in this fight. So special defense boosting is going to be on the cards, and even though you can mitigate that, there's really not a whole lot of good special fighting types. They are Lucario and Iron Valiant, which don't really have as nearly high attacking power, as well as Eevee does actually have naturally higher special defense. So it is better just to go something like Galarian Zapdos, which does absurd amounts of damage while also debuffing. Cresselia is unorthodox support in that with Mist, it is capable of preventing you from getting debuffed, as well as Lunar Blessing allows you to heal allies that are asleep. Of course, Eevee with Yawn will put you to sleep, and as we've seen from things like level 6 Dondozo raids, putting things to sleep, as well as even the level 6 things like Snorlax, putting Pokemon to sleep is a huge problem in these raids when time is of the essence. This thing, with Safeguard and Lunar Blessing, can completely shut that down. Dragonite also gets Safeguard. Another option is actually to give allies Misty Terrain, as that will also prevent the sleep, as well as Electric Terrain, which will also further boost Iron Hands' power. And then, of course, you've got Espathra. Opportunist gives it a boost anytime that Eevee uses something like Calm Mind, so it can actually be a pretty solid sweeper with Lumina Crash always debuffing the special defense, doing a lot of damage, Opportunist bringing out some big power. It's pretty strong. And that's what you need for the mighty Eeveest part of this thing. But now, let's go to the outbreaks. There are going to be 8 special... Yes, 8. There's going to be 8 special marks that are going to be available in a boosted rate, much like the previous ones of the Crafty Ghost types and the Upbeat Clefairy one. And that is going to be the Jittery, Intense, Intellectual, and Flustered mark is going to be boosted on mainland Paldea, while on Kitakami, the Eevee outbreaks are going to have a boosted Rowdy, Excited, Calmness, and Unsure mark. Also, because Eevee does not naturally appear on Kitakami, it will be appearing in boosted groups, much like, of course, the previous events. Which for someone like me, who's been doing a living Shiny dex, with Eevee being the big black hole of stuff I can't get because it is infuriating to Shiny and Scarlet Violet, because it just does not appear, this is a perfect opportunity for Eevee Shiny hunting. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Hope you get all the Eevee you want.